Uncle Sam wants you? Tripping? The Cold War. A time of paranoia, suspicion, and really bad fashion choices. Both superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union, were locked in an ideological death grip, each convinced the other was developing mind control techniques. Naturally, America had to fight fire with fire, or in this case LSD with more LSD. Enter Operation Midnight Climax, a CIA project so bizarre, so wildly unethical, it makes a Hunter S. Thompson novel look like a PTA meeting. Imagine, if you will, the CIA, flush with Cold War cash, deciding the best way to combat communism is to become the world's largest buyer of LSD. Their goal? To see if they could make people spill their guts, or better yet, become Manchurian candidates, all with the help of a little psychedelic nudge. It's the kind of idea you'd expect from a bunch of guys who've spent a little too long in a smoke-filled room, except these guys had government clearance and an unlimited supply of mind-altering substances. What could possibly go wrong? As it turns out, pretty much everything, but hey, at least they kept meticulous notes, for science. Or maybe just for the inevitable memoir, turning on for Uncle Sam My Life as a CIA Pimp. So, you're the CIA, and you need a place to dose unsuspecting citizens with LSD. What do? If you answered rent out some discreet apartments and hire some scientists, then congratulations. You're clearly far too sensible for this line of work. No, the CIA went with option B. They set up brothels. Yes, you read that right, brothels.
In San Francisco and New York City, CIA safe houses were transformed into dens of, shall we say, patriotic pleasure. The decor was straight out of a John Waters film, velvet paintings, shag carpets, and enough red light bulbs to make a Christmas tree blush.
The whole operation had the air of a particularly seedy stag party, only with more surveillance equipment. The idea was that these love nests would provide the perfect cover for their little experiments. After all, what's more discreet than a brothel? It's not like anyone would suspect the government of running a string of houses of ill repute, right? Now, you can't just round up a bunch of unsuspecting Johns, slip them a Mickey and call it a day. Well, you could, but even the CIA had standards. Sort of.
Instead, they enlisted the help of a colourful cast of characters, prostitutes, doctors and even other government agents to lure their marks into a psychedelic honey trap. The unsuspecting participants, mostly men looking for a good time, were slipped LSD in their drinks because nothing says romantic evening like a side of mind-altering drugs.
The CIA agents, hidden behind two-way mirrors, eagerly watched and took notes, hoping to unlock the secrets of mind control. Did they succeed? Let's just say the results were less Manchurian Candidate and more Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Imagine a room full of spies scribbling furiously on notepads as their subjects giggle uncontrollably, see sounds, and try to pick fights with the furniture. It was less a scientific experiment, more a particularly bad trip gone mainstream. The driving force behind Operation Midnight Climax, our LSD-loving ringmaster, was a man named George Hunter White, a CIA operative who looked like your kindly old uncle, if your kindly old uncle ran a government-funded drug den.
White, a man who clearly enjoyed his work a little too much, threw himself into the project with gusto, even going so far as to keep meticulous records of his experiments. His journals read like a cross between a bad acid trip and a particularly disturbing episode of Hoarders.
But what were they actually trying to achieve? The CIA hoped to find a truth serum, a way to make people talk or even control their minds. They envisioned a world where they could create sleeper agents, programmed assassins, and maybe even win the Cold War with a well-placed dose of LSD. The reality, however, was far less glamorous. Instead of creating super spies, they mostly managed to give a bunch of people a really bad time. The experiments were chaotic, poorly planned, and about as scientific as a game of pin the tail on the donkey. Surprise, surprise, slipping people LSD without their consent doesn't exactly lead to groundbreaking psychological breakthroughs. Section 5, the doctor is out of his mind.
As if pumping unsuspecting citizens full of LSD wasn't bad enough, the CIA also experimented on their own employees.
That's right. They dosed their own colleagues with mind-altering drugs, all in the name of national security.
Because what better way to test the loyalty of your employees than to see how they react to a healthy dose of psychedelic chaos?
One particularly infamous incident involved a CIA chemist named Frank Olson.
Olson, after unknowingly drinking an LSD-laced cocktail, began to experience severe paranoia and hallucinations.
Days later, he plunged to his death from a New York City hotel window.
The official story was suicide, but many believe Olson was murdered by the CIA to cover up the agency's involvement in the LSD experiments.
Olson's death and the subsequent cover-up sent shockwaves through the intelligence community and highlighted the dangerous and unethical nature of the CIA's experiments.
It also raised serious questions about the agency's accountability and its willingness to operate outside the law.
Section 6. The walls have eyes and notepads.
The CIA, in their infinite wisdom, assumed their little experiment would stay under wraps forever.
They were wrong.
In the 1970s, with the Watergate scandal rocking the nation and trust in the government at an all-time low, the truth about Operation Midnight Climax and other CIA shenanigans finally came to light.
The public, already reeling from revelations about government surveillance and covert operations, was horrified.
It turned out their tax dollars were being used to fund not just brothels, but brothels where the main attraction was a free trip to La La Land courtesy of Uncle Sam.
Congressional hearings were held, heads rolled, figuratively of course, and the CIA was forced to issue a series of increasingly embarrassing apologies.
They claimed they were just trying to keep up with the Soviets, that it was a different time, that they didn't know any better.
The problem was, their notes, meticulous as they were, told a different story.
They knew exactly what they were doing, and they did it anyway.
The fallout from Operation Midnight Climax and other CIA scandals of the era was significant.
It led to stricter regulations on human experimentation, increased oversight of the intelligence community, and a healthy dose of public skepticism about the government's activities.
Section 7. The Hangover.
Operation Midnight Climax, despite its utter absurdity, had a lasting impact.
It serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked power, the importance of ethical boundaries, and the fact that sometimes the truth really is stranger than fiction.
It also highlights the dark side of the Cold War, a period often romanticized for its espionage and intrigue, but one that was also marked by paranoia, fear, and a willingness to cross moral lines in the name of national security.
The legacy of Operation Midnight Climax is a complex one.
It's a story of government overreach, scientific hubris, and the human cost of the Cold War.
It's also, in a strange way, a testament to the enduring power of curiosity, even when that curiosity leads us down some very strange and unsettling paths.
In the end, Operation Midnight Climax remains a bizarre footnote in history, a reminder that even the most powerful organizations are capable of making incredibly stupid decisions.
Check, check. Check 1, check 2, check, check.
Section 8, the punchline. So what did we learn from Operation Midnight Climax? Well, for starters, if a government agent offers you a drink, maybe politely decline. And if that drink comes with a side of government-issued LSD, run. Run very, very far. But on a more serious note, Operation Midnight Climax reminds us that the pursuit of knowledge, no matter how noble the intention, can have unintended and often disastrous consequences. It's a story that should make us question authority, demand transparency, and never, ever underestimate the capacity of the government to make really, really bad decisions. Because sometimes the truth isn't just stranger than fiction, it's a whole lot funnier. And that's the real legacy of Operation Midnight Climax. It's a reminder that sometimes the best way to deal with the absurdity of it all is to laugh. Because if we don't laugh, we might just cry.
Indeed, the champion of non-violence and spiritual purity.
Sounds strange. Imagine if the 19th